Hey guys, and welcome back to RC Classic Garage and another episode on the Alfa Romeo 1750 GTV barn find. Now, if you've been following this series, you'll know that we dragged this car out of a barn where it had been sitting for the last 40 years. And well, we're bringing it back to life. Now, in the last episode, we started repairing the left-hand side of the car. And we started with the front inner wing, where we repaired some rusty patches as well as previous accident damage. We also moved on to the floors and patched both floors. And then we cut off the outer sill, and it appeared to be a very good outer sill. And thank goodness we did, because it revealed a very rusty middle sill. So guys, in this episode, we're going to brace the car, cut out the rusty middle sill, and then continue working down the left-hand side of the car. Let's get into it. Now, the bottom of the middle sill on this car had completely rusted through. That doesn't just happen by accident. It means water's been getting trapped inside the sill cavity for years, probably from blocked drain holes or old seam sealer that given up the ghost. So there's only one proper way to fix it. The middle sill has to come out completely. But before you can start cutting away a major structural section of a car, you have to make sure the body's secure. So Paul gets to work, carefully measuring all the door gaps, fabricating a brace, clamping it in, and welding it securely in place. That way, when the sill comes out, the door keeps its shape perfectly. And next, the fun part, or the scary part, depending on how you look at it. To get the middle sill out, we have to remove the bottom of the A-pillar. And of course, once we open that up, we find more rust hiding underneath. So we keep cutting until we hit solid metal. We even had to remove a bit of the inner sill under the A-pillar to get rid of the last bit of corrosion. It's time for Paul to start his magic. We're rebuilding the bottom section of the inner sill. And this is not just a simple shape. It's got a few bends, an awkward curve or two, and it needs to line up perfectly with the rest of the sill structure. Paul starts by fabricating the new section from sheet steel. He uses something thicker than normal to match the original gauge used on the car. That extra thickness gives the structure proper strength, essentially since this area ties the A-pillar and takes a lot of load. Once he is happy with the shape, it's time for the first test fit. Bit of trimming, a few taps, and once it all lines up, out comes the welder. The new panel is welded in solidly, the welds are ground back nice and neat, and then he hits it with weld-through primer to keep everything protected. And now for the big moment, cutting out the middle sill. This is one of the key structural parts of the car, so it's not a job to rush. The old rusted section gets carefully marked and cut out. And then it's time to grind back the spot welds, one by one, drilling each out until the old sill finally comes free. With that out of the way, we can get a proper look inside the inner sill. Everything gets cleaned back to bare metal, checked for hidden rust, and treated with rust remover and protective paint. With that done, it's time to test fit the middle replacement sill, and it fits really well. So off it comes again, and we start drilling what feels like countless holes along the top and bottom edge for plug welds. Once we're happy with the alignment, everything gets a good coat of weld-through primer. Then it's back on for the final fit. The sill gets welded in place. Plug welds all along the top, bottom, and the sides are welded in. Now there's a lot of welding, followed by just as much grinding and cleaning. But once it's done, the result looks fantastic. This is another big step in bringing this classic back to solid, rust-free life. And with that finished, it's on with the bottom of the replacement B pillar. It's welded into place, the welds are ground back nice and smooth, and then everything gets a good coat of weld-through primer. Another section complete, and the structure of the car is really starting to come together. And then I give it the undercoat and the black paint as it was in the factory. And now it's time to remove the brace that's been holding the structure together throughout the repair. Paul carefully grinds off the brace, takes a few measurements, and not a millimeter of movement. Perfect. It's job done. Next, he moves on to the bottom of the A-pillar. Same process here. Test fit the replacement panel, drill the holes for the plug weld it in, and grind everything clean. It's steady, detailed work. It's then time to test fit the outer sill and create the end piece. Now we can't fit the sill without having the door in its final position. So before we go any further, it's time to repair the door and get it hung back on its new hinges. Now there are some nasty rusty patches around the hinge area and the bottom of the door, but thankfully this door is nowhere near as bad as the other side. We don't need a whole new bottom and a whole outer skin. It's actually in pretty good shape. Now remember, this door was sandblasted, so all the problem areas have been fully revealed. We start by cutting out the rusty sections, fabricating new repair pieces from fresh metal and welding them in. And then there were some really nasty patches around the hinges. Previous repairs with brass, brazing, fiberglass, you name it. Paul cut it all out and got to work, carefully fabricating these complicated shapes. There were corners, curves, edges, hinge holes. Everything had to be perfect. Now the routine never changes. Cut out the rusty areas, clean everything up, treat it for rust, apply the rust prevention primer, weld in the new panel, and grind it back clean. And with the bottom hinge done, he repeats the same process at the top. Cut out the rust, clean everything up, treat it, apply the rust prevention primer, weld in the new panel, and grind it back. With the new hinges fitted, there were just a few more repairs needed. They were pretty small. One on the inside of the door and a few small patches on the outer skin. Each section gets the same treatment. Carefully cut, treated for rust, welded, and finished off clean. With all the repairs done, it's finally time to hang the door. On and off it goes, again and again, until the gap to the rear wing is just perfect, because that's the only straight line panel left to line up to. Patience and precision are key here. With the door and middle sill work complete, it's finally time to fit the new outer sill. This part is crucial. It needs to align perfectly with the door, which itself is carefully positioned to match the rear wing. That wing is our only true straight line reference on the car, so getting the alignment right is key. It's time to drill the new sill for plug welds. Then everything gets a thorough coat of weld-through primer protecting the metal. Once everything is aligned, we start the welding. Top, bottom, and sides. Every section gets securely welded into place. There's a lot of grinding after each weld to make sure it's smooth and the seams are cleaned up back to metal. It's repetitive and painstaking work, but it's what makes these repairs so strong and visually seamless. And step by step, weld by weld, it's taking shape. And once it's all done, the transformation is clear. The outer sill looks fantastic. It's strong, it's aligned, it's perfectly integrated with the door and the rear wing. This meticulous process may take time and patience, but the result is structurally sound, visually perfect, and a critical step in the restoration. And now, with our reference points being the door and the newly fitted outer sill, we can finally tackle the rear wing. I have to admit, it will be a big relief when this is cut off, as this is the last part that can give me another surprise, as in we may need a whole new inner wing once the outer is removed. But at this stage, we've gone around the entire car, turned over every piece of metal, and dealt with all the rust and repairs we could find. So fingers crossed I don't just get one last surprise. Cutting off the wing isn't straightforward. There are so many old repairs to work through, multiple layers of old patches, loads of lead, previous work that has to be carefully separated. It's meticulous, it takes patience, precision to avoid damaging these inner panels. Now, seeing the guts at the rear like this is a little nerve-wracking, but it's also incredibly satisfying. Now there is a lot of cutting, and it takes about 5 cutting discs and 3 separate sections to remove. But eventually the rear wing is free. It's a tense moment. The whole thing is lifted off. The car structure at the back is finally revealed. Time to clean off the old repairs on the inner wing. Out comes the grinder, the sander, even a bit of heat to burn off the layers of old filler and paint. Bit by bit, the metal underneath starts to show itself, and it's not good news. The edges are gone, rusted through. There's really no saving it. So that's it. At this stage, it looks like we need a new inner wing. It's the last surprise this car had for me. After going right around the entire shell, cutting, welding and rebuilding, this is the final piece of bad news. But honestly, I'm relieved. At least for now, we know exactly what we're dealing with. No more hidden horrors, just solid metalwork from here on out. So, it's time to test fit the new outer wing. As always, this part is a process of patience, on and off again. Each time we're checking and rechecking the alignment, making sure everything sits just right. The most important reference point here is still the door. It's our guide to ensure the wing flows perfectly along the body line. And bit by bit, we start to see how it fits. Screwing it in place temporarily, holding it tight up against the panels, adjusting where needed. And to our surprise, it actually fits really well. We thought we'd have to wrestle this in order to get it right, but it seems it's almost straightforward. The gaps are good, the curves match, and the metal sits nicely against the structure. So once we're more or less happy with the overall fit, we scrape off the last bit of old maroon paint along the edges and start to fine tune every contour, every joint, checking again. And this is where the satisfaction starts kicking in. And then we bring the rear bumper to test fit that too, since there's a new panel on the back as well. And guess what? It fits perfectly. The lines flow beautifully from the wing to the bumper. A great sign that all our reference points have paid off. Finally, we step back and compare both sides of the car, checking the rear end shape against each other, and they spot on. Perfect symmetry from one end to the other. That's how we know the new outer wing is exactly where it should be. And with the outer wing test fitted and aligned, it's time to take it off again, so we can finally attach the inner wing, the last surprise of the project. The old inner wing is cut away carefully, then we trim and shape the new panel to fit. Once it's close, we start test fitting. The new inner wing goes in, but the outer wing has to be temporarily refitted over to check the alignment. Now this step is critical. The inner wing has to sit in exactly the right place so that when everything is welded up, all the panels line up perfectly. So it's a process of fitting, adjusting and refitting until it's just right. Once we're happy, the outer wing comes off again and we move on to welding. Just like before, weld, grind, clean, repeat until the seams are neat and strong. And finally, with all the welding done, we give the inner wing a good coat of primer to seal and protect it. Another job ticked off, and the last hidden section of the car is now solid, rust-free and ready for the next stage. So guys, I'm really pleased at how this rear arch, the door and the sills have come out. And the new outer wing is fitting absolutely beautifully. But the best part for me is that we have now been through this whole car. Every piece of metalwork has now been exposed. So on the positive, there are no more surprises that we can get from a bodywork point of view. Now this car is booked in for painting with Keith at Painting Classic Cars next year in February. And well, it's the end of October now, so we have exactly 3 months to finish off all the bodywork and to get a lot of painting done. We will be fitting the rear wing, we'll be putting the bonnet back on, putting the 2 front wings back on the car, and then painting the inside of the car, the engine bay, and wrap liner underneath. So we still have quite a lot of work to do before then in the next 3 months. And I'm happy to say Paul's been coming in 1 day a week to help me on the car. And in order to get it ready, we've stepped up his time to 2 days a week. So although there's a lot to do, hopefully we'll be making progress a lot quicker. In the meantime, I've been doing a lot of prep underneath the car to be able to wrap the liner and also inside the car, removing all of the old sound deadener over the center tunnel. And well, our first dilemma. Once we've painted the inside of the car, what do I replace the sound deadener with? The original style, which is quite thin, or the upgraded Dynamat, which is a lot thicker and I think actually works a lot better, but then you lose your originality. So, first dilemma. Anyone got any experience on what they would do, original or upgrade? Please let me know in the comments below. Guys, so one of the things I did want to do is thank you for all of your comments. They've all been really encouraging and really great, and I read every single one of them and try to respond to them. And they really do give me a lot of encouragement. So thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. Please join me next time. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep those comments coming. Thanks all again. Ciao.